stuck here. The cops won't bother me. So there's a couple of directions of motorcycles that I want to get next. Because of the Shadow and the way I look at the Shadow now and look at these old 1985 bikes, I'm like, man, you know, since I wasn't around to ride anything from the 80s, I am kind of interested in trying to figure out what are good bikes. And it seems like there's a lot of hipsters that are taking old bikes and modified them, but I just like the idea of a stock bike. So I'm thinking that perhaps I'm going to look into older bikes, because you can get them very cheap if they require some work. And of course, if you stick with old Japanese bikes, they hold their value reasonably well and they're very easy to work on. I would avoid BMWs, of course, even the new ones. And the bikes I was looking that are old are the Yamaha Sika. They make it with a shaft drive and it looks more of a standard. I like that idea a lot. Those bikes are really fantastic. I had a friend of mine that had one. It's a 4-cylinder shaft-driven bike and it sounds fantastic, so that's on the list. Another one is like a Honda Ascot. Don't know much about it. They make a shaft-driven one and a chain-driven one, so I'm looking at those. The Honda Nighthawk 750 hydraulic. There's the Kawasaki KZ 1000 and 750. Hey, look, electric bike. That's that same lady. Oh, that's nice of her. I waved and she smiled. So those are some of the bikes I'm looking at, but I'm always looking at, you know, different bikes. But now I'm like, oh man, I need to get into these 80s and 90s bikes. You can get some fantastic deals. Only problem is that a lot of older guys are getting into the same bikes because they're into that whole nostalgia thing. But I'm getting into the 80s bikes because I'm poor and I don't have a lot of money, and buying these old bikes is kind of cool. But look at this, man. You can get a Ninja 250 like this, 2010, 2008 and up, with barely any miles for like 2,000 bucks. I mean, that's a freaking good deal. And as far as like new bikes I'm thinking about getting, you know, everything is kind of like up for grabs, because, you know, I can get anything as long as it's priced below like $2,000. And I don't mind doing some work. You know, the early FJRs are great. There's also the FJ 1200 and 1100. Those are both great bikes. So that's also something I'm looking at. The FJ09, I think I've seen a couple for 4,000 bucks. I'm looking at another NC700 and I'm looking at one NC750. I'm actually curious about the NC750 because they say it has more of a motorcycle power band, but yet it's got the same engine. So I'm very curious about that one. But the prices on that have been rather large. Hey, the brakes are pretty good on this thing. I could probably even do a wheelie or a stoppie. Now, this is when the 1000s are good to have. They're fun. You know, the power is fun. And a lot of times, guys don't really ride them that much, you know, the 1000s. But the only problem with buying, like, used sport bikes is that usually they're a little bit more on the abused side. I've also, of course, looked at the Yamaha Tenere, and the only one I can afford is the 2012 and maybe a 2013, which are the years that you should avoid because apparently they have a bunch of problems. Yeah, the Tenere, it's been on my list for a while, but the way I work is if I find a good deal, I'm gonna get that. And I haven't scratched off the V-Strom out of my list too. I would like to try a new V-Strom just because people keep saying that I will love it, and I think I would because I really liked the old V-Strom. The old V-Strom, I mean, I think what I like too about the old V-Strom is that it gives you like a really good bang for the buck, because it's such an old bike, but it doesn't feel like an old bike unless you of course compare it to the new one. But I don't know how the new one feels, and a lot of people, they think I should try it, and I agree. Really good solid bikes, Kawasaki including this one. The build is always a little bit less, you know, but you can't go wrong with those bikes. You know, these brands are fantastic. They're really made for riders who ride a lot. But the problem is that sometimes people, you know, they keep saying that Japanese bikes don't have a soul. There's no spirit. And the reality is, you don't have a spirit if you actually think that, because you give the adventure, the ride is all rider. It's not the bike. The bike is just there to serve you. And a good, reliable bike is important, so you don't have to walk home. You ever tried walking 20 miles home when you get stuck in the middle of the desert and your cell doesn't work? Yeah, try that. You know, it's not going to be fun pushing a BMW around. I think BMW is like the worst ones, and I think what I don't like about BMW is the people that get it. They're so, they just think that everybody has to like their bike. I had a guy that just could not understand why I didn't like it. It's like, okay, hey, I am very happy that you are happy with your BMW, but don't expect everybody else to be as happy with it. You know, it's not like I go out that I like, whoa, look at this geese. Oh man, geese. I almost killed them. When there's one, there's more. See, there's more geese over there. You know, good brakes, man. This bike doesn't have fantastic brakes, but because of the small engine size of this bike, it does feel like very adequate. Like, I don't feel like it's lacking. Sometimes I go through here and people like throw away really good trash. I think that's a mark of people who have a lot of money. There's cars up there. I always think it's cops. This bike is just so good for handling, you know, like that's the thing. It's almost bicycle-like. Well, look at that windows. Look at those nice windows. Really large windows. They would actually do well for a greenhouse. I've always liked R1s. Those are my favorite sport bikes. The Kawasaki Ninjas, I've had like a couple of friends have issues with them. I slow down here because there's like, oh, who's that? Is that Karna? Karna likes to take photos of it as like Honda Accord. You know, a bike that I really would like to get is the Yamaha Tenere 700. That bike is just so fantastic, and it looks like a rally bike. It does. Alright, this is a fun corner here. We usually don't die here. This is a tree farm here, and in Christmas time this is completely packed. Now there's usually debris here, so you have to be careful. You just slow down a lot. See, there's debris right there. It's almost very minute and you can't see it. You know, my least favorite sport bike is the Suzuki GSX-R. Everybody likes it. The only one I really liked was that 750 S-Rad that had that weird hump in the rear. I thought that was like the coolest looking design. And they also have a TL1000R. That was really cool looking. I think I'd get that. If I found a good deal, I would get a TL1000R. It sounds fantastic, a big V-twin. Speaking of V-twins, I also saw, or I also am looking for a RC51. And RC51s, see, everybody's walking on the road. I have to be careful. A RC51 has always been on my list of bikes that I wanted. That bike even in 2020, from 2001, like a 20-year-old bike, still looks contemporary. If you remove those ugly taillights, it would still look fantastic. Yeah, the RC51 is a fantastic looking little thing, but the guys that I've ridden with it, you know, that I rode with them, that had that bike, always crashed, you know, and they weren't going that fast, and they were supposed to be good. I'm still looking for the CX500. I think the CX500 looks really cool, and it's a V-twin, but it's like a sideways V-twin. That's always been on my list. The only issue is that that bike has gotten so popular due to guys that like modifying them, and I think they like to modify it just because it's a cool, interesting old engine by Honda. It's like, it's a reliable Moto Guzzi, and of course Honda's done that before. You know, they got the V4 sideways on the STs. I also looked at an ST 1300. There's one selling for 2,700 bucks. And I had a 2003, and that's the one I'm looking at. It's the bikes I'm kind of looking at. If you have any suggestions, you know, and the thing is, these bikes are kind of like almost specific to an area. The good deals. I noticed that a lot of bikes in New York are much more expensive, but around here, yeah, when there's seasons and stuff, you can get amazing deals. This bike screams. That's the thing. It's one of these bikes that just like likes to rev really high. 8,000 RPMs, that's normal. Well guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit that subscribe and like. I hate to say that. It just seems so petty and pathetic. But anyway, thanks for watching guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.